All right, hello everybody. So in this module 7, uh, we will look into the prefabrication elements, and then we'll look into your different prefabricated elements. Here would be roof cassettes, the sandwich elements, glue laminated frames, and CLT, plus the light wooden facades or elements. All right. So we've already talked about material theory, about wood and different types of construction wood, C18 and C24. You need to take into thoughts about insulation, sustainable options, if it's possible. Please have in mind the pressure. If there's anything with the sandwich elements that you need to be aware of. Then also you need to look at your building parts or components. I would recommend you guys to make a list of requirements. I guess, again, the scrutiny, research of these options. Then you need to have in mind the interface between the two, all the building parts, the building components. Here, the roof cassettes will hit at some point the sandwich elements, and the roof cassettes will also hit the glue laminated frames, and also the roof cassette will hit the light wooden facades or elements as well. So all these four building prefabricated elements, they will at some point interfere with each other, and that's why you need to have in mind to talk together. Okay. So then also we need to make some kind of overview facade drawings, and also for the roof cassettes, and then also the modular drawings that we need to do and why we need to do them. All right, so let's get started. First of all, we have to look into our PowerPoint show here, of course. So we will start with this and then move on here. I'll do this instead. So the scrutiny of the materials, as always, if you have any technical inquiries, you need to ask the owner about. And then you also need to be aware of the quality assurance that you guys are doing. So for you guys, you need to make a 3D model when you have the different elements. For example, the glue lamp, a half glue lamp frame, and CLT deck in the workshop. For the sandwich elements, with the element with a hole, or against the roof or surface or corner. Here, the roof cassette by an overhang gable. It could be a skylight in it as well. And then again, the light wooden facades with a window or a door in it. I'll give you some examples here. So like this, you could definitely put a skylight in the roof cassettes. Okay, it will give you some extra challenge and also some extra learning of it. As here. Also, the glue laminated frames and the CLT deck, we have some kind of constructions and connections that you should look into. So we'll start with the glue laminated frames here. You need to make and have in mind all these different points here, and also the drawings. So you need some kind of drawing with the cutting profiles, an overview drawing where you can see the different glue laminated frames. Also, you should have in mind that the joints, the wind grids, how do we assure that the glue laminated frames do not tilt or fall over, and also the wind grids or bars, they will be able to prevent the wind and the forces to push over the building. Because the glue laminated frames are actually the carrying structure that will hold the building in place. Also, gable columns. There will be some vertical columns in the gable. That is to prevent the gable walls to fall in if there's any wind on that. We are in Denmark, so of course there'll be a lot of wind. There's some kind of connection and collection details. So how do we put the things together? All right. So the glue lamp would be in 3 pieces. All right. The foot and the middle. We also call it the knee. And then the top here. Okay. So you need to have that in mind. Then also material information. It could be strength of the glue laminator that you use. Dimensions, of course. Needs to show some surfaces. The finger joint, actually go Google what is a finger joint in wood. And also have in mind maintenance. One another thing you have to have into account is actually fire. How would you prevent or protect or delay the fire from taking from tearing down this structural part on our building? All right. So next up here, again, the finger joints. How does it look? Some kind of connections. Okay, connectors, different ways of connecting it. Also the footing. We talked about that with the point foundations. All right, so you have to install it when you poured your in situ concrete here. So you need to find out how would you like to connect it into your glue lamp. Okay, but please go look for books that make this. Okay, this is the research. You have to have in mind about you guys are making the drawings for your production. Okay, so your subcontractor that is making your prefabricated elements for you guys to install it, they need the drawings so they actually understand how should they make this for you. And that includes all of them. So when we talk about hybrid elements, this would be the sandwich elements. I'll try to make this a little bit bigger here. Why can't I do that? I will do this instead. Take out the screen. A second here. There we go. So this also takes part of the glue laminated frames and all the other ones. Okay. So make some kind of 3D showing how you would like to make the sandwich element. So again, you will have a heavy wall on the outside. You will have a concrete shell on the exterior part, and then you will have a wooden structural part in the back. Okay, so it needs to be connected. You need to make a schedule. You also need to make a schedule for every single prefabricated elements. So a cutting profile. How would we like to cut the glue lamp? But here we actually also need to put in the rebars. How many are there? Different types, if we have any. It could be length as well, and density, the weight, and so on and so on. Please see this example here. Okay, it could look like this a little bit. Then also take into account the windows. There'll be some windows and some doors that you need to have in mind. And the last part, actually, when we are using prefabricated elements, we need some kind of anchor so we can lift our elements in place. All right. Details of the assembly. All right, bottom and both sides. So we need some kind to see how are we actually putting these together. I forgot about the overview drawing. That would be you guys making facades and surfaces of the building. I'll try to see if I can find an example for you. The strength, material information, dimensions, of course, U values. There would not be modern glue lamp frames with the U values, so here we're beginning to talk about it. And then also have in mind maintenance. Will there be any maintenance? When will there be any maintenance? Okay. So when we talk about the roof cassettes here, so the roof cassettes, some people say it's tricky. I don't think so. It's just a challenge at some points. It has a lot of different parts in it, but also it's the most exciting part. I'm a carpenter, so I should say that. Again, we need some kind of overview of an element with a window in, skylight, a section cut here, showing here, details as well, a section cut at the end and on the side. So we'll have a section cut here and a section cut here. Then also we need, and you can try to split these together. So this means now you would have to go in and make some kind of detailed components or families that you can put in. Okay, so this will take some time, and it also takes time on the other elements because you have to start trying to make families and detailed components. Remember to put measurements on all your elements. Again, otherwise the production guys will not be able to do it without asking tons of questions. Again, measurements here. Oh, go back a little bit here. Again, measurements. All right, measurements. A lot of measurements going in here. Also height here. We could definitely put some measurements here as well. And also on the details, we need some detailed information. So you also need to make some kind of cutting profile, a schedule here for these parts, some kind of part list, legends in Revit, schedules in Revit. So it says here, cross section, parts list, cutting list, overview drawings. How would you like to lift these guys into the right place? How are you thinking about it? How do you do it? Assembly details, okay. Some important details. It could be in the top where the two roof surfaces meet, and in the bottom, and then next to window. All right, that's some good details right there. How do they come in and fasten to the glue laminated frames, and how do they connect in the top, and how do they some kind hit your exterior walls. So, and that actually includes also the exterior walls here. Where would you find it important to make a detail? It could be its connection to your glue lamp frame, the bottom of a door, the top of a door, for example, and also the top where it hits your roof cassettes. So that includes both type of walls. So why is it necessary to make a cutting list and details for the production facility? So they need to know the necessary, okay? And that's part of your scrutiny and your thoughts. How much do they need to know? How much do you need to know for you to be able to make this if you were in the production side? Here, the glue laminated frames, we're going into these again here. Sizes, heights, angles, if there's any different types. you guys are lucky. There will not be anything on the glue laminated frames, but definitely in the CLT decks, it could be different kinds and thicknesses, maybe, or length, width, etc. So that's important to have this in mind. You don't have to divide every one of them, but to, make a 3D where you divide the different parts, like here. You divide these into different parts so we can see how would you like to put the things together from the start to the end. It also includes this fella here. How would you like to start it? A 3D again. Would you start with the pouring of the concrete in your reinforcement? Would you start to make the back part of the wall here with wood and then pour on top of it? So you have to have that in mind and give it some thoughts. Some of you guys were at Tosinger Elements. Okay, I hope you got some kind of view into how do they start and putting things together. It will help you a lot. So, as mentioned here, you should produce 3 to 4 details from each building component. All right, showing the reinforcement. It could be the top of the window or door, bottom here. How do they do it? How do you prevent a huge cold bridge and line loss going to parts? Are there any options for you to minimize that? The corners, especially, that's a good detail. How do you put these together? The walls in the corners. So definitely have that in mind. Over here, this is showing steel. So please don't look at this. Okay, but the detail in general is still a good example of how and why you should make details of your glue laminated frames. All right. Give me a second here. So the roof cassettes and also, of course, the other elements, there will be some parts that you will have to install after. So that would, of course, be the top layer of your roofing membrane. Maybe as you saw on Tosinger roof elements, they are only installing the first layer of the roofing membrane and then they put a top layer on top of it. So a good way to show that is actually making it red in the detail so the guys know, oh, okay, this is what we should do afterwards, after it's got installed. Also, if there is anything else, it could be insulation we have to install. It could be if we have to put some wood in here, if we have to put the ceiling, finishing ceiling, especially the damp proofing, the vapor membrane. How are you thinking when you come with the elements? How do we assure that we can actually put it in the right place when they arrive and you mount them to your glue laminated frames? I know this show a steel frame, please just think it as a glue laminated frame. Also, if we have any wood boards overhang, then you should have that in mind as well. If we need to put in some kind of insulation afterwards, and this one needs to be open, okay, for us to fasten it to the glue laminated frames. So please have that in mind as well when you are making this. All right. So when we make the roof cassettes, you also need to make some kind of loading plan. And the loading plan, you can give the different types if you have more than one type of roof cassettes elements, which you will have, because you will have some with different sizes. You will have some different length and width, and you will also have some with skylights in it. Okay, so so please be aware of that. Where would you like to start? Okay, you can show like we start from here, move up. So also when you make the the element list here, you will have here they say like I have 1, 2, 3 types, and then also I do the same 1, 2, 3 types. You'll have another type here, and another type here, and another type here. Okay, so have that in mind. The less types you have to do, the less drawings you would have to do, the easier it is for the production, the manufacture of these elements. So just to be aware of that when you make the cutting list and the element list, please have that in mind with thicknesses and sizes and length. So it should also include and shall be in connection with the loading plan, and the loading plan we will get to that. Because when you're making this and doing the production of all the elements, it could be roof, wall, and so on and so on. Then you have first to produce them. Then afterwards they have to be loaded into a truck, and then you transport it to the site, and then you lift it in place. So they have to come in some kind of a row, and the way it actually lays on the roof or are put on the walls. So, and also when you make the loading plans, you need to have that in mind. Of course, if you want to start here from the bottom, you want to start here from the bottom here, then of course it should be on the top of the truck. Okay, this one in the middle, this one in the bottom. Okay, if you want a truck with just all the 27 2004s, that's up to you how you would like to do it. So, why is the loading plan important? You need to be aware the height, the length, the width of the truck, and again, it should have some kind of connection with the mounting plan here, how you put them in your side and install them. So here, for example, we have SE. Here they said sandwich elements. Okay, you could say RC, roof cassettes, and then the different types. And then with the mounting plan, the guy on the side knows, okay, we need to start with, for example, 21001, 02, 03, 04. So we have to show that on the truck. That's why it's important. Just also be aware of the height. Okay, there are bridges in Denmark, and there is some maximum length and width on trucks. So you should Google that and be aware of that. So you would need to make some kind of route plan here, route plan. Okay, where is your manufacturer located? Okay, you need to find some kind of inspiration on productions that make sandwich elements. Okay, there is no one in Nestle that does it. So please go Google and find a place for your manufacturer that could actually produce these. Then here we will have Vejdirektoratet. It will actually be able to show you where the bridges are, the heights, what kind of roads you can ride on, travel on, depending on your weights. Because of course you will have to look into the weight as well. So how much does the stuff weigh? For example, concrete, it weighs 2.4 to 2.5 tons per cubic meter with reinforcement in. So please have that in mind when you're making this plan for your truck. How much will it weigh? Also, you need to make a cross section. So the cross section will be a group, some group work. Okay, so you need to talk together. How does it look? Different families, how are they put together? So please have that in mind. You can do this in the groups. You can see here a lot of details, material descriptions, so on and so on. So yeah, make me a nice one. So again, now it's your time. Okay, after I'm done here, have in mind when you're loading it, as said, what is the weight of the elements, your road plan, review the material, technical inquiries if you need it, some kind of requirement list, the scrutiny. Then, as says again, the hooking, how do you mount it or how do you lift it with the crane, and so on and so on. So you can start with the thoughts on the loading plan and the mounting plan after doing some research and scrutiny on that part with the trucks and so on before starting just drawing like crazy. All right, so here's another example, because there is many types of trucks. All right, you can have a low bed truck that actually goes all the way down here on the right corner. It can actually go very, very low to the surface, to the road, but also it costs more money and it has less space. But it might be necessary for you to do it if you want to transport, or to transport your elements in the height. So a recommendation here, don't make it more than 4.1 meters high. And then also the length, there could be some kind of restrictions on that part. Okay. The loading plan here with weight on it. I'll zoom in here. So this one shows a half frame, glue laminated frame here, one piece, weighs 354 something. I guess it's kilos. So again, what's the total weight here? Then you will have some kind of wind, connections. So to connect the wind, it can be crosses. We can have pulling and pushing rods. We can also have one that only takes where you push, can only handle that, or pull. So please have that in mind when you make the wind grids and show that bars that you install on the glue laminated frames, and where do you put them. All right. Okay. So this is an example of a drawing that you would have to show and make. Also with some kind of truck, make a decision what you would like to show. So when you have made these thoughts about your transportation, then you can start making your drawings, okay, of your elements. Again, when you do some kind of facade view of your walls, then you have to divide them into two, because otherwise they would really be too tall to transport. Okay, I'll see if I can find an example here. See here. Right there. So this is an example of your walls. How do we put them together? The height here is too tall. So here they're showing the loads. How many loads do they need to make? Also the dates, because you have to make a time schedule on your different elements. You have to think about how long does it take to install. You cannot install everything in one day. Okay, so how much can you install? Please be inspired by this one. Also, when you go over your gates, how would you like this element to connect to your lower elements according to the load bearing. Okay, so please be inspired by this one. So we can find some good stuff as well here. So here's an example of the mounting plan. So this is again, sorry for the steel frames, but again, same thoughts. You need to have in mind, where do we put them? The modular lines. What is the modular lines here? The distance between where do we put them, where do we install them. Down here, they have taken some kind of win bars to prevent the building from tilting over and fall. And how many there is, the transportation to the site, when would you like them? And again, you need to talk together, okay? Because of course, these frames would have to come in first for you to be able to attach the walls and the roof. So, would you like to start with the walls? Probably not. Probably be best to install these, okay? And for now, I've never seen the roof flying, so they should also be before the roof. Here is your wind cross protection, so it helps with the forces for the wind to put them down. Out here, down through the footing and into your foundation. That's also part of the static analyze, okay? You can show in where the details could be from the top. Also, how many there is. If you want to show some other relevant drawings that we should look into, it could also be here. Yeah. Let's see if we find some other good stuff here. So this is for the walls again, from the top, showing where to put the different elements and loads that comes in with it. It's a good drawing to make as well, to show where to put them. So we can find some other good stuff here. So here the students have made some kind of what's that called? A sheet construction, some kind of guidance for you to guide you through how to put this together. It's in 29 pages, so that's a lot. But it tells us how do we put the building together, different ways to make it in the foundation, how to place and where to place these, how is it put together, detailed illustration of the point foundation. Okay, how we put them together, and so on and so on. So this is just a document where they deliver it to the manufacturer with all the explanations and their thoughts and descriptions. Okay, so it's actually a guidance for putting it together, where we put the stuff, and so on. So it's a mounting guidance and how to do it. Okay, you need to make this as well. Okay, you need to make it to deliver it to the guys on the site. How do we do it? When do we do it? So on. Some good details here showing how we put the things together. I'll just scroll through this one. You don't have to show the gutters, okay, please. It's totally fine without it. But how to mount the things? So you can put in your drawings here, put some writing if you need and want to explain some of it, if there's anything needed for another person to understand your thoughts of the drawing. Remember, you're telling a story every time you're making a drawing. It's communication. Communication is a hard thing. Also here, when you see this video, you would probably say, oh my God, this is also some bad communication. But it's a challenge sometimes to communicate to other people on the other side. All right. So, of course, they went into really deep, detailed information here. How do they put it together? Okay. So remember, this is a story, a guidance. How do we put the building together from the start to the beginning? All right, let's take a look at some other stuff here. See if we can find some other good stuff. Again, a guidance of this construction. Some people make a rendering of a hall. So here it shows a 3D. How do we put it together? If there's any like control, or we have to look into some kind of quality assurance when we put the things together, we could mention that. Principles for us to install these frames while they're sitting. The first one you put for the glue laminate frames. Please have in mind, how do we put it and install it into the point foundation and together, and for that not to tilt over. What do we do in the meantime? We need some kind of material or installation or product to prevent it for that until we put the next glue laminated frames, and then our bars here, so it can actually help preventing the two glue laminated frames from tilting and falling over. Again, the gable glue laminated columns here, just an example of showing it, how it's here. All right, we'll move on here. Just move on. Not much interesting on the last pages here. Another one here to show you. So this is DS steel profiles. Not very interesting for you guys. So this is for the CLC elements, for example. So this is a route guidance showing how would we like to put it together. Where do we start? Where do we end? If there is anything we need to know about the trucks, when does it come? So here they just make a document where they put the things together, the descriptions. All right, here. So it's a good way to make the document and put it together. If we have anything like free heights underneath the bridges, it's good to be aware of that. Here's another one. So here they mention the different types and amounts and weights. And so here again, transport, showing different types of sandwich elements here, for example, the weight, the amounts. So this document, just put all your things together that you also make the drawings for, so you have some kind of some guidance for them to do. Of course, you can put it on a drawing as well. If you want to do that, then that's fine. That's really up to you how you would like to put it together. Okay, I will not be in charge of that. Just give it some good thoughts. What would you like if you received the material? You can find the third one here. The third one, guidance for transportation here. So here they put in some spots that we have to be aware of as part of the scrutiny that they made. They figured out the height of their elements or frames, and then said, okay, this is the height of the bridge, and so on and so on. We need to be aware of that when we transport and make our elements and the size of those. If we need to take some kind of detour, if the bridge is too low, then we have that into account. So again, it's a way to do it, and also to show that you've done some good scrutiny research of how we would like to transport these elements. So I'll show a little bit about the glue laminate. You can Google and find the glue laminate handbook, and also I will show you some kind of different ways to put the things together for your inspiration of details. So here could be like this, different types. All right, maybe you can go on the big crazy internet and find some families that you can actually load in to your Revit model. We'll have some corners. You know, I've shown you guys this before. So this is actually a fixed moment in this corner, so it should not be able to move. All right, that's very important. We have a 3 Chanier frame, so it can move in the bottom, it can move in the top, and here in the corner, it should not be able to move. Okay, it needs to be a fixed corner. And that's an example here. Is it fixed? Is it able to move? Here, which one would you use for it to be able to move? Like the ridge joint here, could it be suitable for some kind of shear force? Okay. Find something else here. So I will show you some kind of sandwich here, hybrid. So we can find some good information here. So this is an example of a hybrid detail drawing. This is CLT back wall. Put in some insulation and then some concrete on the outside. All right, we need to put some kind of reinforcement to connect it to the back part of the wall. Okay, I would be if you want to choose, you know, that's up to you. If you want to make it by CLT, that's fine. If you want to make it with rafters, pieces of wood, C24, that just stands with a distance like 50 or 60 centimeters. That's also fine by me. Just remember to be aware of there could be some force, not force issues, but have in mind the forces that we need to be aware of. Let's see here. So you got an example of a corner detail. Okay, how do we put them together? How do we make sure that when we put them together, you know, if we have concrete on the exterior wall, how do we make sure that it's waterproof? We cannot just put concrete together like totally. We need to have some kind of joint here, so we're able to protect it. When we have glue laminate frames, how do we get in here and make this kind of distance brick, so we know, oh yeah, that's the distance right there when we mount it. And do we need some kind of joint here that protects from any air or moisture going through and prevent that a little bit. Also keeping the heat a little bit here airtight. And then also please have in mind that it should be able to move and expand this one. So another one here. So this is on the bottom here, some kind of distance brick here. Could be a distant brick into your glue laminated frames. And remember the back wall will actually hold the exterior part of this wall, so it should be able to carry the load from here. And then here, let's see if we can find some good stuff here. So here's another example of this. All right. So here they put in a front plate of concrete. They use CLT in the back, anchors going in and carrying the load from the concrete. Again here, anchors to carry the load, the connections with the windows. Okay, a good way of showing it. Please go in and Google BS Fels or get inspiration from Rockwool Red Air Link. You need to show the vapor proofing in the connections here. You need to be able to see that and be aware of that. So a really good section cut and detail of how we put it together. I will not force you to put bricks on. Okay, on the outside you can also install bricks in the concrete. You can keep it just as a concrete here. That's totally fine. Here's an example when they take them out on each other here. They split them apart. So here we have CLT. Please go in and look at insulation materials. What kind can we use here? Here they just show the concrete back part and wall here for the bricks. So Ambercon, it's a good way to good place to Google. Just go back here again to this one here. Glue laminated handbook, sorry. Also, you guys making the hybrid exterior walls, please go in and download this, find it. It has a lot of good information, details, sizes, how do we put it together. All right. GL, G stands for glue laminated. We have some strength here as well. You would probably hit 30 in your project. All right. So keep it a little bit easy here. Again, how do we put the things together? It's important when we're looking into the CLT deck. You guys making the glue lamp, you also have to do that. How do we put it together? So please go in, be inspired by this. There's 269 good pages with information. How do we carry it? How do we lift this? How do we not lift it? What are the options for it? Something with Euro codes. So there's also a lot of information that you guys do not need. If you want to go into the statics part, structural part, the shear, tensile strength, and so on, please be my guest. Let's see if we can find some mounting details here. I'll just go over here quickly. Also, if you need the wind girders, the wind connections, the bars, if you want to do that in wood, I would say go for it. Also, but if you want to use steel, that's totally fine as well. Just be aware of it. Depends how sustainable you would like to be. When you're making the CLT deck, you might need some kind of beams. Okay, so the frames, you might need some kind of beams to carry the weight of your deck. All right, we'll just move on here. Also, a connection here could be a way of showing it. You put it on columns. So please go in, be inspired of this. There's a lot of good detailed drawings. Also fastening, how can you do it? How should you not do it? Okay, so yeah, close it here, go back a little bit. We'll just take this one here. So this is just an example of a drawing of the roof cassettes. Okay, so it could be something like that. So you can find some details here. Also, how do we mount it to our glue laminated frames? Is it with some kind of bolts that we go in, some kind of screws we go in here? We go in from the top, okay, to mount our roof cassettes into the glue laminated frames. Is it with a bolt and a bulldog? Okay, a bulldog and then a bolt on the top of it. So please go in, find some good examples. So this is part of your scrutiny and research. All right. So that's all from me. Please get started and go crazy. So on. All right. Bye, guys.